All right, Gen Chem, we are going to continue on our balancing equations. I'm sorry, my computer kind of quit on me there. So we had just finished number 8, I believe. So let's go on to number 10, or number 9. So if we look at this, we've got, on number 9, we've got some barium hydroxide with some phosphoric acid making us water and barium phosphate. One thing you should notice is, once again, this phosphate group travels as a group. So we are going to balance it as a group. The other thing I want you to notice here is water. When we make water, I want you to think of it as H and OH. Notice we have an OH group here and we have an H group. So those are coming together to make the water. Okay, so there's my pointers before we even start balancing this. So let's look at barium first. So here we have barium. We've got 1, and over here we've got 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to balance the barium with 3. And then the next thing I'm going to look at is my phosphate groups. So I've got 1 phosphate group here. Here I've got 2. So I need to do a multiple of 2 so that I can have 2 phosphate groups. Okay, now we're going to balance the waters with the hydrogens and the hydroxides. So if we look at the hydroxides first, we've got 3 times 2, which gives us 6 hydroxides. I want you to look at the water in terms of hydroxide plus a hydrogen. So I need 6 hydroxides. And let's look at my hydrogens. 2 times 3 also is 6. So I need 6 hydrogens. So altogether, I'm going to need 6 waters. So let's look at the hydrogens, just total. So 3 times 2 gives me 6 hydrogens here, and 3 times 2 gives me 6 hydrogens here. 6 times 2 gives me 12. So 12 and 12 on both sides, and 3 times 2 gives me 6 oxygens, and that gives me 6 oxygens. So we are good with that. All right, next we have ammonium sulfate and magnesium hydroxide, giving us magnesium sulfate and ammonia and water. So this is a little bit more complex. So let's look at what stays the same on both sides of the equation. So if we look at this, we have sulfate staying the same and magnesium. So we're going to start with those. So I have 1 sulfate group here. I have 1 sulfate group here. So we're okay. And I have 1 magnesium group here and 1 magnesium here. So I'm okay. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to look at nitrogen, then I want to look at hydrogen, then I want to look at oxygen. So I'm going to look at nitrogens first. I've got 2 times this whole group, which means I've multiplied my nitrogen by 2. So that means I have 2 nitrogens that I have to have over here. Okay, so my nitrogens are taken care of. Let's look at my hydrogens. So 2 times 4 gives me 8 hydrogens over here, and 2 times 1 gives me 2. So I have a total of 10 hydrogens. Okay, so I need a total of 10 hydrogens here. So 2 times 3 gives me 6. 6 plus what gives me 10? Hopefully you said 4. So 2 times what gives me 4? 2. So if I've balanced everything correctly, then my oxygens, now notice we are not looking at the oxygens in the sulfate group because we've already looked at the sulfate group. We're looking at just the oxygens here in the hydroxide group. So I've got 2 oxygens in the hydroxide group, so I should have 2 oxygens right here. So we are good. All right, here's another set. I want you to go through and balance these. Let's start with the first 5. Balance these to your best ability and then come back and check. Okay? You ready to check? So let's look at zinc. 1 zinc, 1 zinc. We're okay. 1 sulfur, 1 sulfur. We're okay. 1 hydrogen, 2 hydrogens. So I need to double this up. 2 times 1 gives me 2 chlorines, and I've got 2 chlorines. So we're good. All I had to do is put a 2 right here in front of the hydrochloric acid. All right, let's look at this next one. Let's start with chlorine. I've got 1 chlorine and 2 chlorines right here. So I need to double this up. Okay, and I've got 1 chrome and I've got 1 chrome. I'm good. And 2 hydrogens and 2 hydrogens. Okay, all right. Number 3, aluminum. 1 and I've got a 2 over here. So I need to multiply this by 2. Iron, I've got a 3 here. So I need to multiply this by 3. Okay, and then oxygen. This gets kind of tricky. 4 and a 3. What's my least common multiple between a 4 and a 3? Did you say 12? You are right. So 4 times what gives me 12? 3, right? And 3 times what gives me 12? 4. So does that mean we have to go back and fix our aluminums and our irons? Yes, it does. So 4 times 2 gives me 8 aluminums. So this really should be 8. And then let's see, for our irons, 3 times 3 gives me 9. So let's get rid of that and put in a 9. Okay, sometimes you have to go back and refix things. Okay, 2 hydrogens. I need to multiply this by 2. 2 bromines. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's what I have to do there. All right, number 5. Let's look at sodium first. I've got 2 sodiums. So I need to multiply this by 2 to get 2 sodiums. I've got 2 sulfurs. Here I've got 4. So I need to go back and I need to multiply this by 2, which means I also need to multiply, I now have 4 sodiums, 2 times 2 right there. So let's cross that out and put 4. I'm going to need 4 there. Okay, and then 2 times 3 will give me 6 oxygens, so that's good. And then let's look at this right here. I've got 4 sodium iodides, so that gives me 4 iodides. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so I need to put a 2 there. How did you do? Okay, try on these next 5 and check back in just a minute. Okay, you ready to check back? Okay, let's look at the lanthanum first on number 6. 1 lanthanum, 2. So I need to multiply this by 2. Okay, I have 3 times 2, so 6 chlorines. I need to multiply this by 6 because there's only 1 chlorine there. Okay, I have 2 sodiums here. I have 6 here. So 2 times what is 6? Did you say 3? And do we have our carbonate as a group? Yes, we do. And 3 carbonates, 3 times 1, 3 carbonates. Okay, so we are good on that one. All right, ammonium. Does ammonium stay together here, our group? No, it does not. But let's do the nitrogens first. So 1 nitrogen, 1 nitrogen. I'm okay so far, right? We're going to leave hydrogens for later. Okay, chlorine. I've got 1 chlorine. I've got 2 here. So I need to multiply my ammonium chlorides by 2, which means I need to go back and multiply my ammoniums by 2. Okay, barium. I've got 1 barium and I've got 1 barium. And then, okay, now is the time to look at my hydrogens. Okay, I've got 2 times 4, which gives me 8 hydrogens total here, and 2 times 1, which gives me 2. So 8 plus 2 gives me 10. Okay, so 2 times 3 gives me 6, plus what gives me 10? Did you say 4? Okay, I have groups of 2 here, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. If I've done everything correctly, then my oxygen should work. So I have 2 oxygens here, 2 oxygens here. Okay, so that worked out pretty well. Next one, let's look at calcium. Calcium, I've got 1. Here I've got 3. So we're going to put a 3 here. Okay, my hydroxides are getting together with water. So I'm going to think of my water as this again, HOH. Okay, so I'm going to do my phosphate groups first. I've got one phosphate group on the left, I've got 2 on the right, so I need to multiply my phosphate group by 2. Okay, so 3 times 2 gives me 6 hydroxides, so I need 6 hydroxides. And 3 times 2 gives me 6 hydrogens. So I'm going to need 6 waters because HOH is a water. So let's verify that. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 6. I should have 12 hydrogens. 6 times 2 is 12. And 3 times 2 is 6 oxygens. 6 times 1 is 6. We're good. All right, number 9. Let's look at lanthanum first. I've got 2 lanthanoms. I'm okay. I've got 3 carbonate groups. Ooh, my carbonate group doesn't stay together. So I guess I'm going to have to look at my carbons, right? So I've got 3 carbons. 3 times 1 is 3. So I'm going to put 3 in front of my carbon dioxide to give me my 3 carbons. Okay. Then I'm going to look at my SO4s. I've got 1 SO4 sulfate group, and I've got 3 of them here. So I'm going to multiply my sulfuric acid by 3 right there. Okay, so that gives me 6 hydrogens. Okay, so 3 times 2 is 6 hydrogens. So 6 divided by 2 gives me 3 waters. Do you guys agree with that in terms of our hydrogens? Okay, if I've done everything correctly, our oxygens should balance. Okay, and I'm not going to check my oxygens for my sulfate groups because I've already done sulfate as a group. So let's check oxygens with just the carbonate. So 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 3 times 2 is 6. So 3 plus 6 does indeed equal 9. So we are good. All right, last but not least, here we go. 2 sodiums. Are we okay? So far, yes. All right, I'm going to leave oxygens. I'm going to look at my sulfate groups. 1 sulfate group, 1 sulfate group. So I'm okay so far. All right, I've got 2 ammonias, 2 nitrogens here. So I'm going to need to multiply my ammonia by 2 right there. Now let's check our hydrogens. So 2 times 4 gives me 8 hydrogens. So 2 times 3 gives me 6, plus 2 more gives me 8. So I've got 8 hydrogens right there. Okay, now if we've done everything correctly, we should have our oxygens balanced. And once again, I'm not going to pay attention to the oxygens in the sulfate group because we've already done the sulfates. So I just need to worry about the other oxygens. So I've got 1 oxygen here and I've got 1 oxygen here. I am good. All right, we will do a few more practice next time, but for now, you should have enough practice balancing equations that you should be able to figure out your homework. Have a great day, and next time we're going to layer in reaction types. We'll talk to you later. Bye.